Oh, good morning, everyone. Good morning, everybody listening on the radio on 1320 AM. Good morning to James Ham, who's right there. I'm Kyle Madsen. Good morning, everybody in the chatty house. I did not get to say good morning to everybody like I typically do. So if you are in the chatty house, hello. That's youtube.com/ESPN1320, twitch.tv/ESPN1320. This show doesn't exist without you guys. So thank you so much. We appreciate it greatly. Yeah, we were talking leading up to the show. And also good morning to our friends at Jiffy Lube at all of their Sacramento area locations. Find the location nearest you at jiffylube.com. There's also some coupons there that you get down.
Yeah.
$33 off coupon.
That's right. $33 off for a synthetic oil change.
Ooh.
Drops it down to $76.99.
jiffylube.com. We'll have more on that a little bit later. The Kings 7-game winning streak is over after their 130-115 loss to the Milwaukee Bucks last night. There's some stuff I want to dig into from that. But we're talking before the show, and I'm not going to name names here, but I posted this silly thing on Instagram. It's this video of one of the dinosaurs from Jurassic Park, and it like comes out and it does this big roar. But instead of roaring, the caption says, "Me whenever I get slightly touched while driving down the lane." And then the dinosaur in this really funny, soft voice goes, "And one." It's just a silly video. It's so dumb. And he replies, this is the reply that I got at he sent it at 10:47 last night. I was already asleep. So when I wake up in the morning, I just check my notifications, make sure nothing crazy happened. So I read this at like 5:03 this morning. And again, this is in reply to a dinosaur yelling, "And one," in that almost exact voice. I do a great impression of it.
All right.
Here, if I can I
Yeah,
play?
maybe.
Can I? Right, it's very silly. So here's the reply. I hope everybody can hear that. Here's the reply. Can the NBA have a mandatory 2-day film session of early 90s film sessions to teach modern players that the game can in fact be played without the flopping, bitching, and wimpy antics? And can we effing get rid of replay review?
Oh, that's bold.
Like, oh my God. What? Pete, it's a dinosaur.
Just think if you sent him a cat meme. Like, wow.
I just thought that was great. Like, I don't hate the take. I'm in on replay review. Sometimes it takes a little long. When the NFL implemented replay review, you had 90 seconds. And if you didn't figure it out in 90 seconds, it's like inconclusive.
Yep.
That's the point of replay. If you can't take a quick look and go, if you have to like angles and slow down and zoom in and zoom out and like, then it's inconclusive. That's fine. So I think the NBA does take too long. I don't hate that. I don't hate the idea of like, penalizing flopping more often. I get fine. But it's a dinosaur, bro.
I kind of wish
hit me with that at a different time.
Like with the NFL specifically, like there is a way, because European soccer does this with offsides, right? Mm-hmm. They drop in like a line that shows you where somebody's body is, where, and then you see whether somebody's offsides or not, like a gray area. Why don't they do that with the NFL, where it shows you exactly, okay, at this point the knee is down. The knee is down. Now, where's the ball? Draw the other line. Here's the end zone line. Okay, he's not in.
My guess is, and I don't know the exact answer to this. I don't know if it's the way the sports are played. That the technology couldn't work for football. But I would guess that the greater issue is that nobody is not watching the sport because of that.
Oh, yeah.
And to implement such technology would cost a lot of money, and the NFL is not in the business of spending unnecessary dollars.
But they're still doing it. They review every single score, every single interception, every single fumble.
Yeah. And they've done things like, pylon cams and different things, but it's like you would have to, I think there are sensors that would have to go into like every stadium.
Okay.
Or the ball or whatever. I don't know exactly how the VAR technology works, but that would be my guess, is that it would be wildly expensive to implement, and the NFL's like, it's not that big of a deal.
We're making billions. Why would we do something like that?
It is still insane to me, and we're going to talk about the Kings' loss to the Bucks, I promise. But it is still insane to me that the NFL, which has been around for over 100 years, spots the football the exact same way today as it did during the first ever NFL game.
A dude running out and putting his foot down somewhere.
Some 60-year-old dude who's fighting for his life already is like on the sideline 15 yards back and is like, oh, I can see where that ball went out. Hang on, it was right. Yeah. And then the two guys have to like walk together. Oh my God, it is nuts. Like they do in general a pretty good job.
I think so too.
It's kind of nuts how often you look at a replay and you're like, that's a pretty good spot.
Yeah.
But still, there's definitely times where you watch and you're like, that's off by like 4 feet.
The chain comes out and it's like 2 links, and you're like, man, that guy walked a long way. That could have easily been a little bit off here or there.
Time.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I'm with you.
Anyways, salute to everybody with insane basketball takes at 5 a.m. in the morning.
That's right.
The Kings fell to the Bucks last night, 130 to 115. Look, I don't. There's a bunch of stuff I want to talk about, a bunch of stuff I want to get into, a bunch of issues I had with how the Kings played last night. But I did the big takeaway for me was that my issues with stuff from the game last night was, oh, okay, this is just kind of a thing that we'll have to talk about and figure out, and we'll continue watching and moving forward. It didn't feel like the end of the world. Every loss through like the middle of December on felt like a catastrophe. Last night didn't feel like a catastrophe. It felt like a team on the third game of a road trip that might have been feeling itself a little bit and got punched in the mouth in the first quarter and just couldn't dig it out of a 21-point hole. It just that last night felt more like, oh, that's just a loss that happens in the NBA, and less, oh my God, there need to be wholesale changes.
No, I think we got to a point where every loss felt like it was the start of something really bad. Right? Like we were getting to the end of a chapter. That's what it felt like. Like every loss that kept mounting, it was like, oh boy, this is getting worse. Oh no. That's not great. It's getting even worse than we thought. And then all of a sudden it wasn't, like the Doug Christie era, right now, what are they? 7-2, right? It just feels like it's a different vibe. And sometimes you're going to get beat. Sometimes there's a player that you have no way to match up against. But that player also, no one in the world can match up against Giannis Antetokounmpo. There's not a player in the universe that can defend Giannis Antetokounmpo.
There are teams who are better equipped to defend him,
of course,
but nobody's like, hey, player X is just going to go guard him now.
Yeah, hey, Keegan, get on out there, kid.
There's no...
You know what? Like, I want to see
ridiculous.
It, but you know how he would dominate Victor Wembanyama right now? Like, it doesn't matter. Like,
you already did.
You're thinking you're going to throw out there at him. It's just going to get ugly because that's how good he is. And so, look, every once in a while, you're going to run up against a team that, is on the rise like you are, and they just thump you. And I think the first quarter was unacceptable. The fact that, Malik Monk wasn't there was super obvious. But at the same time, man, a loss can be a loss again. And that's what it feels like. We've hit a reset button where a loss is just a loss.
Yeah, so Malik Monk is kind of where I want to start our conversation today, because he didn't play. He had a groin injury. Groin, for those of you who can pronounce the word correctly. He had a groin injury. And salute to Kenny. D'Lo and Casey coming up in noon. But we talked about, are we going to feel the absence of Malik Monk? Is that something that's going to, even with DeMar DeRozan and Domantas Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox on the floor, is Malik Monk really going to play that big of a role? And maybe they still lose last night if they have Malik Monk on the court. But man, it is a wild coincidence that they came out in that first quarter without their kind of offensive spark plug, their tone setter, and they lose the quarter 47-26. And just like disjointed on offense. They're smoking layups. They're one and done on these possessions.
No ball movement.
Nothing.
No
man.
player movement.
No.
Yeah, it just looked like one of those games where you're stuck in mud. And again, that's going to happen sometimes. And look, I thought they fought. After the first quarter, I thought they put up a good fight. But even, you thought, oh, this quarter's going horrible. Like, if there was a point, it's like, oh, man, this quarter's horrible. Just get it over with and you'll be okay. It was like 38-21 or something at that point. And then they scored 9 points. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
And it was 47. You're like, oh, that feels like like so
Felt
much
like a haymaker.
worse. Yeah, it feels like so much worse than I felt even after like the dismal start.
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, you're still sort of there.
Down 20 in the first quarter is not an insurmountable thing.
Yeah.
But man, those quick points when it looked like, okay, they're gonna kind of battle back, they're gonna make this respect, and then just bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
3. AJ Green.
Yeah.
It was an ugly ass jump shot, by the way.
That goes
Not
in.
a fan of that guy's jumper.
All that matters.
Guy looks like you, by the way.
That's what you said.
Yeah.
You put that out there.
I did. He was at the free throw, and I'm like, hey, that's like James. But no, I that's something that they're gonna have to. And I was reading in Chris Biederman in the Sacramento Bee this morning. DeMar DeRozan talked about the lack of urgency, and De'Aaron Fox talked about the inability to match Giannis's physicality. And those are tones to me that are set by Malik Monk. Pushing the pace, starting fast. Maybe he's a little out of control sometimes. Maybe he takes some bad shots early, but he gets everybody in the mindset that, okay, hey, the Bucks are getting whatever they want. Got to match them.
Yep.
And it didn't feel like that. It felt like this panic set in really early where it's like, oh my God, like, you're not going to get it all back on one possession. And it felt like that's kind of what it was.
Yeah, I also, like, while we were watching, we had our keys to victory yesterday, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like right away, we talked about these things very specifically. Do not give Giannis like a runway. Do not. You have to eat the space with him.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be tight on him. You can't just let him run on you. If he starts running at you, you're done.
Yep.
And then right away, it's like, oh, there he is running at Sabonis, and like Sabonis is toast. Like, here comes foul number 1. Here comes foul number 2. You're like, this thing's over already. If you don't eat that space, I thought they made that adjustment. But then, hey, you got to pick up Dame full court. Boom, 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 boom. All these threes. You're like, what in the world?
Yeah.
Like, he's one of the great shooters of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Why is he open? And it's those things. And then they tighten that up. And I thought, Keon did a really good job of limiting Damian Lillard throughout the game. But that first quarter, you just did some real basic things wrong that there was no reason to do those things. That the things that happened in that first quarter were very specific. You did not come out ready to match.
Yeah, man. That was the other thing. And DeMar DeRozan talking about the lack of urgency.
Yeah.
That was the other thing is it felt like they knew, all right, won 7 in a row, got the first 2 on this road trip. Last game of the road trip here. Like just the lack of focus. And that, again, this is not, it's exacerbated a little bit because of the start the Kings had 13-19 and so many quarters that looked like that first quarter. But I didn't come away from it feeling dramatically different about Doug Christie's Kings than I did going in. It was disappointing, to be sure.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to play. I picked them to win. I thought they were going to play better. But you tie the second quarter and then you win the third and fourth quarters. You continued to battle. You got it down to 11 in the fourth quarter. I thought for a second that in the fourth quarter, I thought they were going to win. When they cut it to 11 with 6.5 minutes left?
Yeah, I think we both thought that.
It big time felt like, oh, there's just an avalanche coming.
Yep.
And the Bucks just they're not going to hit enough shots.
But then they started punching
they just
back.
They started hitting a couple shots. And that's what's and that's when you get behind that far and you're down, you cut it to 11 with 6.5 minutes left. You're 1-3 away from this feels out of reach again.
Yeah, game back over.
Yeah, and that's kind of what happened. But
yeah, I think there was like the emotional letdown game was always coming. You knew it was, but I'm just glad it happened at the end of the road trip.
Yeah,
not at the beginning of the road trip, because then you're worrying that it might snowball, might carry over into another game. Now it's like, hey, you got to get home, you got to reset, and then if anyone, I mean, tomorrow's game against Houston is huge, but it's a TNT game, and so like everything's going to be amped up. Everyone is going to be ready and locked in, and again, I would expect hopefully Malik can play because Malik loves the bright lights. Those are games where he just shows up. And that's what you're hoping. You're hoping that, they come out and they play a different brand of basketball against Houston, the brand of basketball that we've kind of become accustomed to in the last 9 games under Doug.
And just to, we'll talk about it more tomorrow, but just to highlight what you're talking about, it's a game against Houston, who's ahead of you in the standings. You beat them earlier this year. There was some bad blood in that game. That was a game where De'Aaron got mad and kind of took over late.
Yep.
And then you get Washington and Golden State. Washington's the worst team in the league. Golden State's playing like the worst team in the league.
Oh, yeah.
So 2 more winnable games after that where you can put this Bucks game way in the rearview mirror. And that's, I think, another reason that it doesn't bother me so much. Now, on the other hand, I've said it before, and this has changed a little bit based on how the season has gone, just kind of the ebbs and flows of the year. But I'm not at a point anymore where I feel like I'm going to, pat the Kings on the head and do the moral victories thing. Because I don't like, if you're the Pistons, you can do the moral victory thing.
Yeah.
Or game over 500. If you lose on it's like, hey, you know what? Still sitting at 500 is a good. The Kings I had much higher expectations for.
Yep.
So I don't want to talk out of both sides of my mouth because I expect them to be a playoff team. That's where I stand today on Wednesday, January 15th, which is what I had written down on the rundown yesterday. That was a real bummer to log in today and not have to change the day because I was like, oh, it's Thursday? No, still Wednesday.
That was my fault.
Oh, did you change it?
I was going to start working on the rundown last night.
Oh,
and then
I thought I messed
asleep.
that up yesterday. Okay, cool.
Nope.
So it's your fault. Perfect. Now I feel better about it. No, but I don't. So I don't want to talk out of both sides of my mouth because I do expect them to go to the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to hold them to that higher standard now of not losing quarters by 21 points.
Yep.
And not losing games by 15 to close out road trips. But on the other hand, I have a hard time walking away from that game going, oh, bad law. Like, oh my God, what roster flaws and rotations. And oh my God, what are they going to do? Like I made the joke last night and Kenny said it during the handoff of Damian Barling coming up in about an hour and a half. But Kenny said it yesterday. I don't want to hear, wow, they don't have anybody to guard Giannis. And he's right. Like, he's definitely right.
Yeah. But
because
does.
Nobody does.
No.
But on the other hand, you see game in and game out, and this is why I'm not. This is just the reality. This is baked into every Kings thought and take. They don't have the. We've talked about it for however long we've been doing this show. Size and athleticism on the wings, it's still a problem.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't have a bunch of bodies they can throw at Giannis. Like they tried Alex Len last night. That's where they're at. It was Domas. It was Keegan picking him up at half court, and it was Alex Len. And that's the counter to that.
This wouldn't have helped, I don't think, but I would have at least said, hey, Isaac Jones, what do you got? I would have.
Sure.
I would have said, hey, look, you're at least physically, like maybe you can go out there and run with them. And I know Doug has not turned to Isaac Jones at all.
Or like, Colby Jones.
Or Colby Jones. Oh, well, no. I think Colby in the first couple of games, didn't he? Or maybe that was the end.
He hasn't played a lot lately.
Yeah.
Anyways, go on.
Yeah, it's one of those things though where you can see that he's not ready to put his faith in young players, and that's because like, look, he's got a job to do. If he wants to win this job and wants to be the head coach of the Kings for the next 5 years, he needs to win games.
I do think
that's it.
But that kind of fits his mantra, and that's something we're seeing a lot with Doug. Is he's not turning to Isaac Jones. Because he's looking at his guys and going, it's okay that you had a bad quarter, but you got to battle back now. You got to dig deep. You got to start doing the right things. You made some mistakes. But can this group of players that I'm putting my trust in and game out, this is on you.
Yeah.
This is not, oh my God, you had a bad quarter. Keegan, you're going to sit, or Trey Lyles isn't going to come in, and we're going to put in Isaac Jones just to see what works. Now, if they were down 40 in the fourth quarter, you'd probably see Isaac Jones a little earlier. But they did. They battled back. I mean, they were still down 21 at half. But I texted you during the second quarter. I said, just get it to 15 by halftime.
Yeah.
And it looked like they were gonna. And then they let go of the rope a little bit and got it back to 21. And I was like,
No, it was over super quick.
Yeah. I was, at least they made it interesting. I was, with 6.5 minutes to go, you get it to 11.
Yeah.
There was never that's kind of, there are so many NBA games that you watch where it gets to the turnoff point. Like, all right, this game's over.
I don't want to watch this game anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
The Kings I never got, like late in the fourth quarter, but still they kept it just interesting enough. Like, all right, they got it back to 18. right, they've got it to 15 here. All right, oh dang, it's back to 20. Okay, well, hey, got it to 14. It just kept it just interesting enough. And I get, like I said, I know that's not a moral victory, because I can't do that, but I do think it's a notable performance given how I think that game might have gone earlier in the year. Like even in a loss, you see that identity coming around with what Doug wants the team to be.
Yeah, totally. And I'll say this, like just watching the way that it unfolded, like we can talk about the fact that they don't have a player to match up against Giannis, and everybody, there's no one in the league that just absolutely matches up against him without any question. Where I really see the deficiency is that when you went to the bench, you still don't have that player. And that's the most difficult thing for this team. It's that their bench, by the regular bench guys, the guys who actually played meaningful minutes, we're talking Herter, Carter, and Lyles, right? That was your primary bench. You went to Alex Lynn late. I'll throw his numbers in there. Your bench had 17 points. And I'm not going to include the 3 from Jordan McLaughlin or the 2 points from Colby Jones late.
Yeah.
But
17 meaningful points.
17 meaningful points. AJ Green had 16. So almost single-handedly matched you. You had another 8 from Bobby Portis. You had another 10 from Ryan Rollins. And Pat Connaughton had 5. So that's 39. You got absolutely crushed. And that's where they just don't have that other piece. And especially with Malik out, if I could transfer Keon's minutes, his 18 points to the second unit, that actually would have helped. He's not going to score 18 points on most nights. He's not a consistent scorer. He's more of a 5th starter or, that guy who's going to hit some threes, right? So it just makes life really, really difficult when you don't have the 9th, well, it's probably more like the 7th, 8th guy in your rotation that you need right now. And so it's still on this front office. And I'm not going to sit there and yell, hey, you have to go get a long athletic guy so you can defend Giannis. Man, you play that guy twice a year. And that's even a maybe. Maybe you play him twice a year because sometimes he misses games.
They need long athletic players not to defend Giannis.
No, because every other team in the league has them.
Long athletic players, full stop. Yeah. And again, it's not. I don't want this to come across like the front office is failing because they didn't have somebody who could just go shut down Giannis one-on-one. Like he's literally a perennial MVP candidate and the Greek freak because he's 7'1" and moves the way he moves, and now he can pass, and he's got that mid-range game down, and then he's got the spin moves and the Euro steps when he gets down. Like he's sick. He's so freaking good. Some of the layups he made last night were ridiculous. But you see the Kings don't have the length to help off of him or just get hands in the lane or just different bodies, different looks to give him. Like they tried Jay Crowder last night.
Yeah, we had a Jay Crowder sighting the first time in a long time.
It's just not it. And that's, again, it's not why they lost.
Nope.
But it is just this game's version of, well, that's the roster shortcoming.
Yep.
Not Giannis specific.
Nope.
He's just the player who exposed that issue that tends to get exposed on a nightly basis. And he can expose it in a unique way. With a triple-double.
Yeah, and I also think that just like the way that they weren't able to defend, they need time to grow up, right? Some of the players like Devin Carter, like he got bodied and dunked on by Pat Connaughton.
Yeah,
it was like, that's not good. But same time, like, look, that's where I'm gonna give Devin Carter like a really long.
Yeah, he's a rookie.
He's a rookie, and some of the shots he threw up last night were just, oh my gosh, that's so horrible. Like there was one shot that I thought he might have bent the rim on one side. And then like a minute later, he took another one from the other side. It's like, oh, he straightened the rim back out. Yeah. He was clanking iron hard.
But this is exactly why going into the draft, this is exactly why we talked so much about trading that pick, because if you get a rookie, you're going to deal with this. Devin Carter did not get to play in October and November and December, where you start to see other rookies are really starting to like get their feet and come around now and be really big contributors in the middle of January. He's in October still.
Yeah.
And that was one of the issues with this team and playing a rookie. Like, yeah, you're going to have to deal with this sometimes.
Well, that and like he's not the reason why you lost at all.
Not even close.
But he didn't help, and so that's one of those things where you have to, when you're building a team, if you're behind the eight ball like the Kings are at this point, you have to look at every avenue to get better, and it's really tough to rely on a young player game in and game out to bring the consistent effort, the consistent shot, defensive consistency, all of that stuff. The one thing you know he's going to do is he's going to rebound.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, he's going to do that effectively, and he'll become a more effective player the more he plays.
Yeah.
That's
You're just not a team that can run him out there for 25 minutes and let him grow into a role.
Exactly.
That's why you don't want to start a season and get 6 games under 500 at some point.
Real quick update from around the NBA last night. My favorite NBA stat of the year. It continues. It's now January 15th, and the Washington Wizards, who lost to the Timberwolves yesterday, 120-106. They still have not lost a game by they've not had a 1-possession loss all year.
That's wild.
They have 1 4-point loss. Everything else, I believe, has been by 6 points or more.
Oh, they're not good.
They're so bad. And they're coming to Golden One Center this week.
Can't wait.
Get fired up, everyone.
That's Sunday?
Is that
Sunday?
Did the Kings not play till they play Thursday, Sunday?
Thursday, Sunday. Thursday, Sunday, Tuesday, I believe. And then see ya, you're on the road forever.
Oh.
Yeah, it's going to get brutal.
Where is this? All right, Thursday, Sunday,
Thursday, Sunday, Wednesday?
Yeah, Thursday, Sunday, Wednesday, all at home.
Monday, Tuesday off? Wow.
Wow.
I might be able to get some sleep this week.
Good little stretch. Good little stretch for the Kings. Yeah, good. More importantly, good little stretch for you.
The next 3 weeks, I might be able to actually get some sleep, Kyle. It's good.
All right. Well, there's another aspect of the Doug Christie era that I'm interested by that was mentioned in Chris Biederman's story from last night that I want to run by you because I think I like it, but I think I only like it for now. And we'll get into that. We'll have James Ham's 6 quick thoughts coming up. The Kings are moving up the NBA power rankings. Plenty more coming up in the next couple hours. He's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. We're sponsored by Jiffy Lube and rocking with you till noon. You're on ESPN 1320 at Sacramento Sports Leader. Clear.
Okay, so Tyler, a Kings player could accidentally open the door on the team plane and fly out, and the Kings wouldn't tell us about it. So, no, they didn't disclose anything about Devin Carter's injury at all. I would, look, that shoulder is gonna be tender. We saw it with Kevin Huerter early. And getting hit a couple of times on that shoulder in a game, it's going to kind of tell you, he's had a lot of work done on that thing, and it's gonna take a while to get it right. Oh, let's see. Eric M., you're in the Red Hawk suite tomorrow night. What do you need to know? I don't know. We don't get to go to a suite. I don't know. There's a secret ice cream place that has like the best soft serve ever. That's one thing, and I don't know where it's at because someone else goes and gets it and brings it to me. Look, I don't have a good time. Don't fall out of the booth. And tip your server. How about that? Yeah.
Enjoy the game though. That's gonna be sick.
Yeah.
I'm also going to the game. I'm going to sit in a seat. I'm going to drink a beer. Can't wait. I'm really excited about it.
Man, Zach, you are finding different ways to pitch the same exact trade. I just got to be honest, Zach. Just like I'm not a fan of Zach LaVine's game. Again, I think he's a great scorer, but everything else I have questions about. I'm not a fan of Tyler Hero. I'm just not. So I think a backcourt of Malik Monk and Tyler Hero would give up 125 points a night, and Domantas Sabonis would have 6 fouls every single game. Just straight up. Like if Tyler Hero is your 6th man, or if you can go backwards with Malik Monk, that's one thing, but I don't think that that's going to happen. So, but of all of the trades, the trade ideas, Jaime Jaquez, I would take Jaime. Khalil Ware, like, okay, whatever. Jovic, like, again, I don't think he's gonna develop. He's gonna be a solid NBA player, but the ceiling isn't there for any of those players that I would give up Fox. If
exactly that's rotation players on a mid-ass team.
Yeah. You want to give me Hero, Ware, and Jaquez? I'm gonna want 2 first-round picks.
This is more like it.
Yeah, I don't even know where that's at.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is it. If you're not getting like Jabari Smith and Jalen Green and Cam Whitmore and some picks, and whatever salary you need, then I'm out.
Yeah, what like if I'm dealing with the Rockets, I'm literally asking for Jabari. I'm asking for Tari Eason and Jalen Green, and I would settle for Cam Whitmore being swapped out for Tari Eason, but I really want Tari Eason.
Mm-hmm. It's gonna be a trade where it's like, holy shit, they gave up all that.
Well, but Houston would still be really good if they gave up all that. They still have Asura Thompson. They still have, other pieces to work with. So,
sure. Reed Shepherd.
Well, I mean, they still have what's his name? Why am I drawing a blank? Brooks. They still have, they still have forward depth. They would still either have Tari or Cam Whitmore.
Oh, Şengün.
Yeah, I mean Şengün. That team is deep. So,
hey, stop. Tyler Hero is a significantly better player than Kevin Huerter.
Yeah.
Significantly.
He is. Steven Castaneda. Yeah, I'm just not. Again, De'Aaron Fox would love if there's going to be teams that he'd love to go to, and you're going to hear him. It's going to be Lakers. It's going to be Rockets.
See, someone crazy stat, but 4 points is technically a 1-possession game.
No, and no, it's not. Only if you're playing the Pistons on a Thursday night in December with a point guard that falls asleep on the play the night before a head coach gets fired. All of those things have to work out, be perfectly in place in order for that to be true.
Here we go.
Now, back to the Insiders with James Ham and Kyle Madsen, brought to you by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320.
This is my problem. I have my Wizards 1-possession loss stat. 4 points is their lowest margin of defeat all year. And inevitably, someone says 4 points is technically a 1-possession game. No, it isn't.
No, it is not.
No, it is not.
There's a free throw, a pair of free throws. There is a 2-point shot, and there is a 3-point shot in the NBA. There is not a 4-point shot.
If that's the case, then then technically 6 points could be a 1-possession game, because if I shoot a 3 and get fouled, and then there's also a flagrant 2 elsewhere, well, then we get a bunch of free throws and you get 3 points, and man, we're right in this thing.
Yeah.
That's dumb.
No.
It's how many points can you get without the other team doing something?
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about, Kyle and I had this discussion earlier, the 8 points in the NFL at this point, because of the 2-point conversion, it can technically be a 1-possession game.
Because you can score a touchdown, and then it is up to you to try for the 2 points.
Yes, banking on not only hitting a 3-point shot, but getting fouled in the act of that 3-point shot, that is not no.
That's a thing that it can be a 4-point play.
Yeah.
But nobody's ever been like, a team's down 6. Oh, get the quick 2 to cut it to 1 possession. That's not a thing anybody says.
Ever. It's not like you go to the free throw line, he hits 1 and he makes it a 3-point game. You need 1 more to make it a 2-possession game. That's what they say every time.
Right.
He hits the next one, it's a 2-possession game.
Right. No one's ever like, hey, as long as he can hit both here because you can shoot a 3 and get a foul.
That's right.
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
Although next time we have Mark Jones on, I'm going to tell him to say that. Like, Mark, got a new idea for you.
We're going to pitch you an idea.
Anyway. What are we going to talk about? I want to get into something that Jalen Williams of the Oklahoma City Thunder said, just as a larger NBA discussion, because I think it's really interesting. But I want to circle back to Kings Bucks real quick, because something else jumped out to me from Chris Biederman's story in the Sacramento Bee this morning. The Kings they played the Bulls Monday afternoon. They then took I think it's like an hour and a half bus ride to Chicago, or to Milwaukee from Chicago, which is not a thing I knew until I went to Chicago. I did not realize I'm geographically a dunce. I did not realize that Milwaukee and Chicago are right there.
Super close.
Right there.
Yeah.
Like Sacramento to the Bay.
Mm-hmm.
I had no...
I don't even think Bobby Portis had to move when he got traded from the Bulls to the Bucks.
Long ass commute to get to his basketball team. Yeah, so they took buses and then had an optional shoot around thing, and then instead of holding a practice, they did an escape room. Okay. They did a little team building activity.
I love a good escape room.
An escape room's a great time. But this is we've talked so much about players buying in on Doug Christie, and he's captured their imaginations, and Chris wrote an entire story and then has mentioned it in this story about how Doug's approach is more player friendly, which makes sense. He's a former player.
Yeah.
You hear that a lot in the NFL too, where coaches who are former players have more kind of player friendly approaches.
I think it's player friendly, but I'm going to put an asterisk and say it's player friendly / team friendly. Mm-hmm. When he's going to give options hey, we're going to do this, or all of us are going to do this. Mm-hmm. They're going to do things together. They're when they have this long road trip coming up, 6 or 7 games on the road that's all over the map, they are going to have a ton of team dinners. They're going to be together all the time, because that's how Doug and his group of players in Sacramento really built that camaraderie.
Right.
Where look, if you have a problem with somebody, sit next to them at dinner and work it out. And that's how they're going to be. They're going to
maybe share some mashed potatoes.
Yeah, we're going to have some disagreements, but, at the end of the day, you got to figure out ways to bond and to get closer together, because that's how great basketball teams are formed. Good basketball teams, they've got talent. They've got all the things on the court. They've got all the pieces. Great basketball teams, they find a way to matter more to each other.
Yeah.
And to play for each other all the time. And that's something that, Doug is trying to build that culture.
That camaraderie and chemistry, I know it doesn't really make if you tried to explain this to a non-sports fan, it wouldn't make sense. Yeah, they all get along outside of the game.
Yeah.
And it makes playing the game easier. We saw the little back cut De'Aaron had last night on the feed from Domas, where Domas was just kind of hanging out inside the perimeter, but on the wing, free throw line extended. And he's just kind of sitting there looking where to go. And then he and De'Aaron, same page. De'Aaron makes a little move and gets in. I think, was it Dame guarding him? Maybe Andre Jackson. I forget. Whoever was guarding him makes a little move, gets by him. Domas right there with the little bounce pass, perfect pass, easy layup.
Yep.
And that's just those kind of things that just get easier when you have the chemistry off the court. But I do think it's a really fine line, because, instead of going to practice, they did an escape room. They had a great time. They built chemistry. Wow, it was awesome. That's awesome when you're 7-2 over a 9-game stretch.
Yeah.
It's going to be really interesting to see how this plays if they lose Thursday to the Rockets. And then let's say they drop one to Golden State or Washington. I'm going to say Golden State because that's more likely. But let's say they lose one of those 2 games that they should definitely win.
Yeah.
Now it's it's so funny to me how that perception can just flip based on what happens on the court. Because it goes from, look at all the time they're spending together to build this chemistry, it moves to, why don't they practice? Get in the gym. What are you doing?
Yes.
Right now it's fine. It plays. I'm not harping on what Doug's doing because it's clearly working. But I do think that lens and that viewpoint can shift really quickly.
I think it can, but I also think that that's going to be, next season. It would have to happen. Like it's not going to be something that happens like
it's not going to wear out really quick.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, like, again, my son played competitive soccer for years, and we were like a roving family. You got 15 kids, and a lot of times we would take other kids with us, whether their families couldn't afford to go to a tournament and go pay for an Airbnb or a hotel room or whatever. We always had extra kids, and you always. But the key that I always saw was, when kids are 10 and 11, not everybody had a phone at that point. 2 or 3 of them did. And you'd go to like a Panera Bread. All of them are basically in one little tiny, like, a section of a booth.
Yeah.
But just like the 3-foot section, there's 11 of them. All their little faces are on top of each other, like all of them watching one screen together.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way you can do that and be that close and that friendly and go out on the field and yell and scream at each other. They just bonded in a different way. And look, they have lifetime friendships. And I think that's what Doug is trying to do. He's trying to, like, create these bonds that matter way more than whether you hit a 2-point, you hit a 3 or you're in the right spot every time.
Yeah.
And that way you feel more comfortable if, like, you want to go up to a player and say, hey, when you set a screen for me, can you do this instead of that? Like, I need you to be a little more shifted so I can cut around that screen.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to critique you. I'm just saying that that's what I like. And because we're closer, we have better camaraderie.
Yeah.
That's what, I need you to do. Or, hey, I know you've missed 5 straight threes. I need you to keep shooting. Like, we trust you.
Yeah.
And there's a different bond between we trust you and, man, we trust you. You better hit the next one, but we trust you.
Yeah, right.
Like, there's a different feel that comes with it.
Yeah. Jalen Williams of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Speaking of team chemistry, the Thunder have great chemistry. But Jalen Williams brought up a really interesting point about NBA awards voting, specifically the Defensive Player of the Year. And usually when someone says something on a podcast, he said this on the Young Man and the Three, the former JJ Redick podcast.
Okay.
Usually when a player says something on a podcast that suggests a significant shift in the way we do things, I say we, like I'm in the NBA, the way the NBA does things, I usually am like, that's stupid. But Jalen Williams, a really smart guy, by the way, brings up a really interesting point about the NBA's Defensive Player of the Year award. And I want you to take a listen.
I think they should add a 13, and I think there should be 2 Defensive Player of the Years.
Oh, interesting.
I got a lot to say about the rules. And this is not a diss to any big that gets it, because every big that has gotten it is deserving. Rudy.
Jaren.
Yeah, Jaren. But defense is very, like, different for certain players. I can be a really good defender without averaging the most steals. Like, Herb Jones is not, like, first in steals. But if you ask everybody around the NBA who one of the best defenders in the league is, he's going to be in the top 5 conversation. So it's like, I think if you have a big and a guard defensive.
So you want to but they have to be, you can't have like 2 bigs get it.
Yeah. It would be like
you couldn't do like
they
Rudy
do 2
and
different
Wemby.
things. It's just a big every year. And I feel like it's just based on like blocks. Like a guard's never had to protect the paint.
Yeah.
And a big's never had to chase a pin down.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jalen Williams. Why doesn't the league do this tomorrow?
Well, that and Rudy can't chase a pin down, just so everyone knows.
Oh, no. What happened?
What do you mean what happened? That?
There we go. Thanks. I don't know why my layouts went away.
Oh.
I don't have them.
There's a limitation, clearly, to what Rudy Gobert can do, and he wins Defensive Player of the Year all the time, and I think it's questionable. Like,
I agree.
I do. Like, I mean, a guy who gets played off the court in the playoffs because he can't play defense, that's a problem that he wins a Defensive Player of the Year award. And I'm not saying that Rudy Gobert isn't a great defender. I'm like, in the block, he's a great defender. He's a great shot blocker.
He is. And that's what Jalen Williams is saying.
Yeah.
It's not that Rudy Gobert's not deserving of the award, but voters gravitate toward tall man block shots or alter shots at the rim. How many times have we seen Victor Wembanyama just by being there, or Giannis just by being there, a player doesn't try a layup?
Yeah.
Like that. So I think because that's really easy to see. It's typically like a one-on-one, like at the basket type of deal versus what not that Keegan Murray's in the defensive player of the year conversation, but just to keep it in Sacramento, there are so many things, like little things Keegan Murray does during the course of a game that are never going to show up on a stat sheet. Whether it's ball denial, whether it's cutting off a drive and forcing Damian Lillard to get rid of it, and now it's AJ Green shooting instead of Damian Lillard. Like, there's all these little things that really good perimeter defenders do that even if you're watching the league night in and night out, you can't notice all those things. So guys like Drew Holiday, who have always been excellent perimeter defenders, aren't getting the Alex Caruso's, Herb Jones, which everybody knows Herb Jones is good, but Herb Jones is never going to win a defensive player of the year. I think he's exactly right. They've taken the positions away from all NBA, which I think is good. I think that's fine. You need to add positions or front court and back court to defensive player of the year.
No, I totally agree. And I will tell you that last season, De'Aaron Fox led the league in steals, but didn't get any recognition for all defensive team. And it's like, hey, why do blocks matter so much for defensive player of the year when blocks aren't even a true turnover? They're not a turnover.
Yeah.
Like half the time, guys, like you block a shot, it goes right back to the player or it goes right to one of his teammates or it goes out of bounds. I don't know what the exact number is, but I guarantee you
pretty rare.
It's not like 3 blocks equals 3 turnovers. But 2.1 steals per game is 2.1
possessions,
like where you took the ball from the other team and you had a true turnover.
The argument is the block denies a bucket.
Okay,
like so it's taking away the bucket. But to your point, how many times have you seen a guy block a shot out of bounds and then there's an out of bounds play and they just get a bucket anyway?
Yeah. Or you block a shot, it goes right back to the guy who just shot it. He grabs it again and goes right back up and scores.
Sure.
It happens all the time. So for me, like, look, I do agree with him, and I also agree that there should be a third team, all defensive team.
I also the other thing is not every steal is created equal, and this is where I think the analytics of basketball turns steals into like a bad thing, or not a bad thing, but like a useless thing. Because not all steals are equal, and steals don't necessarily mean. And De'Aaron's a good defender. This isn't about De'Aaron Fox. I'm trying to get to why steals and blocks are so different, or perceived to be so different, because Steph Curry can have a bunch of steals, but nobody's confusing Steph Curry for an All-NBA defender.
No.
Because, okay, he's smart. He can get his hand in the passing lane. He can read this cut and get his hands, but not a great defender.
Yeah, the gambler.
Yeah, so it's like it's
Allen Iverson.
Yeah,
not a great defender, but led the league in steals.
Ton of steals, right? And I think that's where people go, okay, well, steals are a fake stat. Well, like, not always. They still matter. Still matter a little.
Well, that, and even like last night, I know right early in the game, there was the Kings like pinned somebody down up top and threw a pass that got deflected, and Keon Ellis ran through and just grabbed the ball. Keon Ellis got to steal. So sometimes there are those steals that are just like the ball sitting out there and you ran and grabbed it and boom, you have a steal. So there are those moments, but at the same time, like I agree with the premise that like perimeter defenders should have an award. And the way I looked at it, like I don't agree that the MVP has to be a quarterback every year. And I know Lamar has been outstanding, but Saquon Barkley was unbelievable as a running back. And it's fine, I guess, that one of them is going to win MVP and one of them is going to win Offensive Player of the Year. It doesn't make sense that the MVP is an offensive player and he's not going to win Offensive Player of the Year.
Makes no sense.
As well. So I want to see a world in which those guys matter equally. They're weighted equally. And so I get it. It really does feel kind of the same thing, except for there isn't this secondary award.
Do you know what else is kind of nuts? Is Lamar Jackson was the first team, was the AP All-Pro, was a first team All-Pro in the AP voting. So that's like the official one. They voted him first team All-Pro. Josh Allen was second team. There's a chance that the voters who voted for Lamar Jackson to be first team All-Pro could also vote for Josh Allen to be the MVP.
Yeah, that's wild.
Isn't that insane?
It is insane. If it's
like,
the same, if it's same people.
If the first team, if that award's just going to go to a quarterback every year, then why wouldn't the first team All-Pro quarterback win MVP of the year every year? I don't know.
I don't know. I would like to let's see if
Jalen
we-
Williams makes a great point about the defensive player of the year in the NBA.
Yeah, let's call it like the Sidney Mon-Fri award or something.
Okay.
Who was a great defender in the 80s, a great on-ball
Mhm.
like perimeter defender, like won all kinds of things. But like, let's figure out some sort of way to create another category. I agree with him.
Yeah,
like-
perimeter defender and rim defender, or like I said, front court defender and back court defender. Whatever. I don't know. There's different ways to do it though.
Mhm.
And I don't think the present defensive player of the year award properly captures the importance of modern NBA defense. Because
I totally agree.
having an awesome shot blocker means nothing if you're running out a bunch of Zach LaVine, Tyler Hero types who don't play a bunch of defense.
Yep.
Like it doesn't. But you can get away with not having a great shot blocker if you have a bunch of great perimeter guys. So I don't know. Anyways, shout out to Jalen Williams. He makes a great point. And shout out to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Did you see that video of the Thunder putting a bunch of towels on the sideline reporter's head after the game? I'm going to see if I can find it real quick. This man is doing a post-game interview with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and is just the most professional thing I've ever seen in broadcasting. Let me
He
get
just
this.
sticks it out.
Just is absolutely powerful. So again, if you're listening on the radio, I'll describe what's happening. First of all, the broadcaster looks vaguely like Nate from Ted Lasso, and he's talking to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So if you're listening on the radio, this is just a post-game interview. But there are three members, including Jalen Williams, who we just heard from, three members of the Oklahoma City Thunder who just have a stack of towels, and they're just draping towels all over the sideline reporter, over his shoulders, over his head. And you can't tell because he does not miss a beat. This is incredible. Listen to this. You're going to hear it and you're not going to know anything is going on, but just understand that the entire time he's talking, they're placing towels in and around his head in person.
Yeah, we played to our standards for portions of the game. We could have been better, obviously. Still an NBA team over there, no matter who's in, who's out. But we got a dub after a long road trip, ready to go home.
You made your first 8 shots, just continue to be so aggressive and so efficient. Tell me about your night tonight.
Yeah, I just try to be aggressive, try to set the tone. Like I said, long
After
road
4
trip.
towels now.
Try to get in and get out.
Yeah, and you guys
Fit one
played great
on
on
his
this trip. And the fact of the matter is that you guys faced some really good teams on this trip. And what do you think about the way that this group has continued to respond night in and night out?
All right, guys, sure. I'm sorry, Nick. The children, I'm so sorry. Yeah, we played to our standards
When we
for
talk
portions of the game. We could have been better,
talk about
obviously.
honestly, this is a real thing. Can you fix our video, please?
Of course I can.
Because I cannot. I don't have the capability to, for whatever reason.
That's wild.
But no, when you talk about team chemistry, like that's something that Oklahoma City has in droves, and it's part of the reason they're so good this year.
Oh yeah.
And it's just little things like that.
So I've been in that situation, even with
Mhm.
DeMarcus Cousins coming behind me and like popping back and forth.
Sure.
Like
Mhm.
if you're once somebody's in your space and you understand that someone's in your space, you can kind of be like, all right, I know somebody's there. And then whatever happens, happens. Like you're in a trance a little bit as a reporter, like
Mhm.
especially if you're doing like a one shot staring at a camera. I was on the floor at Oracle and I was sitting there doing an interview
Mm.
and someone dropped a fold-up chair on the court right next to me. Whack! Snapped me out of it. Shot. I was like
Oh, you're toast.
completely shot. Like,
You're done.
hey, at this point, you guys should probably just go back to the studio because
Yep.
I'm done.
Yep.
I
I'm
lost
super
my
distracted.
train of thought. It sounded like a gunshot right next to me. Bam! And I was like, well, all right, I'm done. Yeah, but
When you're out of it, you're out of it.
outside of that, when you're doing a live hit and you know like the players' layup lines are right behind you,
Mhm.
you kind of get used to the fact that somebody might do something crazy and stupid.
Mhm.
And you're like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
just going to be focused. I'm just going to do it. But it can get a little awkward.
But usually that's like a player running behind. You see players do that all the time. They'll like run behind and do something funny in the camera
Yep.
or whatever. Or they'll just straight up interrupt and dap up the person. Have you
Yeah.
seen the one of the Cavaliers sideline reporter? I think it's the Cavs. And she's talking, and I guess she always does a fist bump with Jared Allen before the game.
Okay.
And she's talking, and I'm pretty sure it's Jared Allen. who didn't have a double-double last night. And he runs by, and she just, without missing a beat, she's talking like this. She sticks her fist out. He fist bumps her, and she continues. No break. Incredible. So to have people messing with you like that during your and not missing it, incredible.
I also
salute to the Oklahoma City Thunder sideline reporter whose name is apparently Nate.
Okay, and I also agree with you that like it shows team camaraderie because like Shea is standing there. That's his moment, but everybody else being around and having a good time with it.
Yep,
it shows that he like eventually like, all right, let's stop, our poor guy here. But up until that point, he didn't feel like they're stealing his thunder. Pardon the pun.
That's a good one. Also, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, while we're here, weirdly like the elder statesman of the Thunder, and he's 26.
Yeah, it's weird.
He called him the children.
Yeah, the children.
Well, they are. They're all like way younger than he is.
Well, Alex Cruz is not way young, but
he wasn't. He wasn't in that.
He was
video.
handing towels. Yeah,
oh, was he
to the other guys? Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Right.
So
how old is Lou Dort? Lou Dort's been around for a hot minute.
Yeah, he's probably 28. Okay,
25.
So what?
Lou Dort's only 25. He's been in the league 15 years.
That's wild.
Crazy.
Child labor laws were violated. I say let's do the Sidney Moncrief Award and the Dikembe Mutombo Award because we lost.
Oh,
Dikembe
that's fantastic. That's fantastic.
Best interior defender, best perimeter defender. That's it.
It's great. I love that idea.
Yep.
And would anyone complain about that?
Nope.
Would anyone be mad? Like, now we don't know who the real defensive player of the year is. Like, yeah, that's different. They're two different things.
No one would be mad.
That's why there's an offensive player of the year and a defensive player of the year.
Yep.
Different things. Anyways. Hey, let's talk real quickly about our friends over at Jiffy Lube.
Yeah.
I think we should. No, it's a good time. We got to reset. We'll do 6 quick thoughts here coming up. We'll get back into the Kings' loss to the Bucks and get down to some of the nitty gritty from that. But before we do that, there are coupons available to download right now, and the people need to know about them.
That's right, Kyle. It's a new year to keep your vehicle running smoothly, and my friends over at Jiffy Lube have an amazing New Year oil change special going on right now for the month of January. Get a full synthetic oil change starting at just $76.99 with a $33 off coupon online. That's right. Starting at just $76.99 for a full synthetic motor oil with online coupon. Go visit jiffylube.com today, find a location near you, and get that $33 off full synthetic oil change coupon now. Valid until January 31st, up to 5 quarts of synthetic motor oil. Most vehicles are covered. Specialty and diesel vehicles can be extra. You must show your coupon for a discount. Happy New Year from our friends at Jiffy Lube.
6 quick thoughts on the Kings' loss to the Milwaukee Bucks with James Ham coming up next on ESPN 1320, Sacramento Sports Leader. And clear.
What's going on, everybody? Being a sideline reporter full time would be really weird. Just saying. Hi, Miguel. Thanks, True Down, for one of your childish humor statements in the chatty house.
I don't know if this person's messing around, but this is not what I said.
No.
If they're messing with me, then that's 100% what I said. You don't want to do steals. Stealing's illegal.
So Sidney Moncrief, his nickname, Sid the Squid.
Oh, good question from John Poles. Let's save that. My favorite shows are the ones that the Chatty House just produces for us. This is the second person who said this to him today, and I couldn't agree more.
It's the third. Somebody else said that.
It's one of my favorite outfits that you wear.
Kyle bought me this flannel, and the best part about it, flannels with side pockets are the best.
Yep. And it's a little bit more than a normal
well, it's thicker, so
it is.
And these thicker flannels, they hold their shape. So like I'm always in a rush in the morning, and I don't have time to go and iron a flannel or steam a flannel, and the heavier ones hold their form.
What a dog shit question this is. God, I'm joking. Tune into the Chatty House after party. Is it tonight at 8, Manny? I haven't said I like Manny very much, and I haven't said a nice thing to him in a long time. I feel like I'm always maxing with him. So,
Leezy said I had a fly outfit on. What?
Nice, man. Leezy was here yesterday. Didn't bother to come say hi to me. That's fine.
I always like for games. I always dress nice. Yeah. Shut up, Kyle.
Oh, that's funny. That's a good joke.
No, see, Al Borland wore the thinner flannels. That's not what we're talking about.
Carn on the cob.
I don't think so, Tim.
Guy died in a hang gliding accident. What an idiot. Bro, what? That's insane.
Come on, Leezy.
I literally sit out there to be available. Because
Some people take advantage of that more than others. I'm a yapper.
You're not the only one.
Nope.
But see, this is the thing, is if I'm busy, I have no problem being like, hey, dog, let me get back to you. But I'm very rarely like so busy with something that I can't yap.
People keep asking, there are no updates on Devin Carter yet. Like, I would not be surprised to see him sit for a game with shoulder soreness. Yeah, this whole entire, like, announcing that you've interviewed a coach, it's too much to me. It's too many of them. Like,
I feel like that used to not be a thing. The 49ers offensive, in fact, you know what? I want to just we'll do I want to do that. Finish this thought, and then we'll do 6 quick thoughts. Here we go.
Okay.
Hour number 2. That's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. We're rocking with you until noon. Then we'll hand it off to D'Lo and KC, and they'll take you up to 4 o'clock here on Sacramento Sports Leader. It's ESPN 1320. Shout out to Jiffy Lube. They sponsor the program. You're never going to believe this. The New Orleans Pelicans play on Wednesday, and Zion Williamson has been ruled out.
Oh, I can't imagine.
I'm shocked.
I don't want to tell you what
he came back.
My son and his friends call him.
Yeah, no, we're not going to do that. He comes back, does a 360 windmill, looks great. Everyone's making jokes about Ozempic, and then
Ozempic Zion. That's what they call him.
And then he was late, and he gets suspended for a game, and now he's out. Man. What about he's going to go down? He is going to go down as an all-time what if.
He is, and like people say, "Oh, we've never seen a player like this before." We have. We saw this player before. His name was Larry Johnson. He was Grandmama. It's the same exact thing. And unfortunately, Larry Johnson's back just could not, like, being that big, jumping that high, like your body cannot hold up. The only one who's ever been able to do it, like be that big and strong, well, 2. Karl Malone somehow just never missed games forever because he, like,
he's below the rim player.
Well, sometimes like he had quite a few dunks in his
Mhm.
career, but he also, I think, like lifted giant tires just for fun. But the other one is LeBron. Like LeBron has been
Who's an
able.
alien.
He is. He's
Mhm.
a 6'8", 270-pound alien. Like
Mhm.
he, like as a 16-year-old, looked like a full-grown man.
Yeah.
And then like the fact that he's been able to maintain his body is absolutely incredible.
Mhm.
But at the same time, it just doesn't happen. It's more often that you have that guys break down,
Mhm.
especially big guys like that. And it's tough because I think everyone wants to see Zion do those crazy 360 dunks and stuff. The 360 windmill he did the other day. But everybody in the gym should be like, man, should you really be doing a 360 windmill? You just got back. You're going to miss a game. If that costs you a game,
Man.
because you got to do a highlight reel dunk.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Mm.
We'll change of plans real quick. Programming announcement coming up in about 40 minutes. Jesse Tapia will be in for the handoff.
Okay.
No mad props today. Just
No.
Jesse.
Just Jesse.
Hanging out, talking some ball. Can't wait. Jesse Tapia, producer for D-Lo and KC, will join us at about 11:45. Before we get to 6 quick thoughts.
Okay.
You mentioned the number of like coaching announcements there have been.
Yeah.
In the NFL. And I think that's partly because there are a couple teams, the Bears and Jets, who don't know what they're doing.
Mm.
They don't have a plan or like a short list. They're just kind of, there's a difference between casting a wide net and throwing stuff at the wall.
Well, you know what, it's got to the point where I could almost make like a full 52 card deck of playing cards with the different faces of players, of coaches that they brought in.
It's ridiculous. But one of the things that has come up, we haven't really talked about it here. So the 49ers promoted Clay Kubiak to their offensive coordinator position. The problem is they can't do that.
No.
The NFL has a rule where if you open a coordinator position, offense or defense, if you open a coordinator position, you are required to interview for it, which I didn't know. So
you didn't know that?
No.
Well, I mean,
because I don't remember
the Rooney Rule.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
But I did not realize that, because I think Mike McDaniel just got promoted.
Oh.
To OC. I don't remember the Niners doing interviews for offensive coordinator in 2021.
Maybe they changed that rule in the meantime.
They might have. So still didn't know that. A lot of people didn't know that, apparently. I don't think Kyle Shanahan knew that, or else he wouldn't have made that announcement. So they've announced that Clay Kubiak, their offensive passing game specialist, is going to be the offensive coordinator.
Which isn't even a real position in San Francisco anyways, because Shanahan calls all the plays. But go ahead.
It's literally a title change and a pay bump.
Yeah.
Shanahan said his duties are not, he's been the offensive coordinator without the title for 2 years. All right, cool. So they now have to interview candidates for a job that's not open.
Nope.
They promoted a guy, then went, oh yeah, by the way, the job's open. Who wants to interview for it?
And now we get these really, really like,
we're going to get some randos.
Glam shot pictures that they put on the internet of, we interviewed hazy picture of this guy wearing a different hat.
Yeah. No, I mean, but honestly, those interviews can be valuable, especially for like college coaches. It's their first NFL interview. They get a taste of what it's like. Brandon Staley interviewed for the Niners defensive coordinator position last year and wound up getting a different job with the team.
Yep.
So there's all kinds of, it's so silly. We were talking about if I should do at Niners Wire, if I should do like a list of offensive coordinator candidates type of posts. Like, no, they're not going to hire. Clay Kubiak's going to be the guy. They have to interview on technicalities.
That's right.
Anyways,
we should put out, we should like bring in a third person here, and then we'll have to put out a, like a job description.
We're just going to promote Jesse, but then do interviews for
the third chair. We'll just like, everyone's going to get upset, like who we interview and then every time we interview someone, we'll take a picture of you like going into the restroom or like getting a snack or something. And then that will be the picture we use when we promote the fact that we interviewed you. We'll have a graphic made.
Interview complete. I don't even know when that started.
I don't know.
It feels very recent that teams started announcing when they interview somebody.
Well, I mean, to announce like 45 of them is ridiculous. Like every single day we're seeing like, hey, look, they interviewed another guy.
Yeah, I don't know if it's to appease fans. I don't know if it's to get out in front of the rumor mill of this guy has an interview lined up or this guy did interview, this guy didn't. I don't know. I don't know.
I would love it if the Kings, every time they were rumored to be in some sort of trade for somebody, they put out a card. We have called on this player in a uniform, like dunking. Like, hey, look at that. They're acknowledging that it wasn't just like an anonymous source. It was them. There it is.
I think some teams do it to let the world know they're fulfilling the Rooney Rule requirement.
Of course.
Yeah. Anyways. 6 quick thoughts. You want to get back to Kings Bucks?
Yeah, let's do this.
Kings 115, Bucks 130. I hate that. Let me redo that. We'll fix that in post. 3, 2, and 1. Bucks 130, Kings 115. I always do the team that had more points first.
Okay.
That's just how I don't.
That's fine.
The Kings lost 115 to 130. Hate that. Thumbs down. 2 thumbs down, actually. Bucks 130, Kings 115. Kings 7-game win streak snapped. Let's get to James Ham. 6 quick thoughts.
How'd yesterday's Kings game go? Kings insider James Ham has 6 notes you need to know.
Suboptimal.
Here are James Ham's 6 quick thoughts.
Subpar performance. James Ham, 6 quick thoughts. You can find these on various social media, including Twitter at James_Ham NBA. That's Twitter, currently X. James Ham, 6 quick thought number 1.
We got the full DeMar experience.
Boy, did we.
He wasn't good early, and he kept shooting shots outside of the offense. And I think that's what you just notice it. I don't know what it is. You notice it's because it's like 4 guys are doing one thing and 1 guy's doing something different. It's that thing that we used to see on Sesame Street all the time. 3 of these kids are doing the same thing, and like it just stands out. And it wasn't working, but then all of a sudden it became like the only thing that the Kings had. And so there is a place for it, the way that he plays, the shots that he takes. And then there's also not a place for it. And I still don't know when that time is and when it isn't. And it's really weird because of that. Like if he was coming off the bench and they just kept feeding him and doing his thing, it would feel more like organic. It would be forced, but it would still be more organically forced. But the way that it works out is like, it's not working. It's not working. It's like, okay, well, we ain't got anything else that could possibly work. And then DeMar started cooking. And so I'm not going to ding a guy for going, 28 points on 9 of 18 shooting. He had 6 rebounds. He had 4 assists. He started doing the other things as well. So his stat line looks incredible. But the way he does it, it just like, it stands out every single game as something that doesn't quite feel like it's working out the right. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, man, keep shooting. But then at the other times you're like, oh, what is happening? It's just such a weird feeling to watch him play.
It feels like it feels like if we just 5 minutes every day during our show, just turn on Carlin versus Joe, which is the ESPN national show that's on during our show.
Okay.
If we just turn that on for 5 minutes, it would be like, okay, yeah, that's sports talk radio, but that's not what I tuned into. This is separate from what's happening on ESPN 1320. Like this is a different thing, right? Like if I just did, I don't even have the ability to turn it on. I was just going to fire it up right now. But
Kyle, it's like if all of a sudden we decided to start talking pro bull riding in the middle of our show. It's just like, we're going to spend 5 minutes on PBR today. It's coming to Sacramento, just a couple of weeks. We're just going to spend 5 minutes.
That's exactly what it would be like.
We're going to spend
exactly
5 minutes
what it would be like
talking about PBR right now.
And not the beer. Salute to Pabst Blue Ribbon. Big fan of a PBR. What was the restaurant? Flaming Grill.
Flaming Grill.
Yeah, you could get a liter of PBR for like $4.
Oh,
it's the best. But anyways,
the Pine Cove always had PBR on tap.
Salute to the Pine Cove. I don't the DeMar DeRozan thing. This was my greatest concern with it. Was that it was going to look separate from what the Kings normally do offensively.
Yep.
And there are points in the game where I thought last night, particularly in the first half and in the second quarter, it turned into everybody stand around and watch DeMar DeRozan work for his shot. And if it's a tie game and there's 2 minutes left, or if it's overtime against the Miami Heat and he's rolling, then okay, cool. That's what it's going to be. That's what DeMar DeRozan's made a career out of. But it's not the best version of the Kings offense. It's not the version of the Kings offense that you're looking and going, man, hey, they need to get into a better rhythm, that everything looks disjointed. You've got Keegan Murray airballing threes, and you've got Kevin Huerter smoking layups, and they're one and done on every possession. This is just brutal. More of that, more standing around and watching DeMar DeRozan dribble the basketball into a contested 12-footer is not conducive to getting the Kings offense moving. A possession here and there where it's like, you know what, a 12-0 run, the Kings just need a bucket, and he goes down and he gets to the free throw line or whatever, cool. But these long stretches where he does that, that's not helping Keegan Murray get going. That's not helping De'Aaron Fox. That's not helping Trey Lyles. That doesn't help anyone.
I think we all thought that there would be a moment where you were able to take what he does and then put it in the 2-man game with Demonis, or you would be able to play off of that in a specific way, where all of a sudden he's going baseline and dribbling, and then there's a cutter and he finds a cutter, and boom, like having the ISO player it works. It really, like when we say the word isolation, that's exactly what it feels like. It feels like he is isolated doing something different than everybody else. And it's not just him against one guy. It feels like it's him against one guy and everything else stops. And it's a very, very unique experience to watch a flow offense and one ISO player.
Yeah.
And even when De'Aaron Fox dribbles and does all of his crazy thing, or Malik Monk dribble, it always feels like it's in the flow. Like,
well, because there's a pace to it.
Yeah.
And this is where Wilson in the chat, shout out to the chatty house, youtube.com/ESPN1320. Also, if you want to join the conversation, please do, either in the chatty house or on the Elk Grove Kia talk line. That's 916-909-1320, 916-909-1320. Wilson said it's because DeMar shoots long twos and we're conditioned to believe they're bad shots. If he shot 15 pull-up threes and made 6 of them, it would look in the flow of the offense. I disagree, because it's not the type of shot he's getting. It's the amount that he dribbles, and the pace is slow, and then he backs down the defender, and then he pump fakes. It's like, I don't care what type of shot he's shooting.
Yeah.
It's just he just happens to shoot mid-range jumpers. And mid-range jumpers aren't bad if you're hitting them. Like, mid-range jumpers are a bad shot because there are dudes who take them and aren't good at them. But that's not it. It's the fact that everything else stops, and it's everybody watch DeMar get to whatever shot it is, whether it's a 2, a 3, a layup, or otherwise.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
It's like if you're doing like an abstract painting and it's all beautiful, it's all swirly, and then someone draws a house in the middle of it. And you're like, well, that house isn't abstract. It looks like a normal house.
Right.
It's like,
and it's fine. It's a fine like house.
yeah, it's a beautiful house. It's a Hall of Fame house. I
Sure.
mean, straight up.
Yeah.
It's a 6-time All-Star house. But at the same time, you're like, does that belong on that sheet? And then sometimes you're like, oh, okay, it works. I see it. I see it. It works. And then other times you're just like, okay, I don't know. Like last night, it was so obvious in the first half. And then when they had to have it in the second half, it was like, okay, well, this is how you're surviving. This is your only air at this moment. Like you're breathing in this air, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's all you got.
Yeah.
So,
and sometimes that's going to happen. This was my concern, was that it's not going to be integrated quite enough. And I think you just kind of see that. And I thought last night, like you said, in the second half, that's how they survived, and that's going to happen sometimes. I don't think it's conducive to getting the offense going. And I think that's kind of what we saw in the second quarter.
yeah, it's useful to get points in a small grouping of minutes. It's not useful to get an offense going off the ground.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Number two,
Fox went for 20 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists. The 11 rebounds, I'm going to just keep circling this. He had 9 rebounds last game. He had 9 rebounds in the first half of the loss to the Bucks. Finishes with 11. I feel like last year, De'Aaron focused on steals and was like, oh, I can dominate and just be the best steal guy in the league. And you're like, okay, there he goes. All of a sudden, I think I'm going to bring this up. I think he was watching where Devin Carter went on the floor, and like, how is Devin Carter getting all these rebounds?
Mm-hmm.
And then he probably went and watched more film on Russell Westbrook and said, how does Russell get all those rebounds? And then all of a sudden, De'Aaron Fox is like a rebound maven. Now, I would love to see De'Aaron Fox still running up the court and being like the lead out guy. And maybe he's giving up some points to get this rebound, to get the rebound numbers. But for a team that has a small forward that averages 4 rebounds a game and, a shooting guard that averages 3 rebounds a game, I think it might be imperative that De'Aaron Fox does become this player. And then he can lead the break from the back line. He can start running up the court full speed, but having a full vision of the court and being able to move the ball that way, as opposed to being the guy who's out on the break the whole time, especially if you have a guy like Malik, who's such an incredible finisher in transition.
Yeah. And that's like De'Aaron Fox is one of those players that he's going to be able to go do whatever. If he wants to have 10 assists in a game, he can go get it.
Yep.
If he wants to have 10 boards in a game, he can go get them. Like that's kind of the player he is. I liked how aggressive he was last night. Not super efficient. 9 of 23 and 2 of 8 from 3. But with no Malik, that's what you want. You want De'Aaron Fox taking a lot of shots, and that's what he did last night. So overall, fine.
Yep.
Number 3.
Low battery without Monk. The Kings have to figure it out. Like, you can't just make this excuse that, hey, it is what it is. Like, Malik Monk's not here, so we're going to lose tonight. They're 2-6 this season without Malik. When you made the move to put Malik into the starting lineup, it puts you in a weird situation. Malik Monk is now going to play major minutes. And when a player who again played 26 minutes a game last year, 22 the year before, all of a sudden is playing 34 minutes, but on the fly, he's going to get injured. There's going to be bumps and bruises. His body ramping up to that. There are going to be downtimes for Malik, and you got to figure out a different way. And I don't know what that is. You're going to need a player that steps up and brings that type of energy. And maybe it's Devin Carter, but that's not kind of what we've seen so far. And if we did see it, it was almost like forced a little bit. Like, some of the shots weren't what you expected. Like, they just weren't great shots. Even he took the ball to the basket once or twice, and it's like, it's not really your game yet. The floater in the lane, maybe, but it's like they're trying to create this instant offense without Malik. And it's really tough because he's a unique player. And it's why I think, even having a guy like Terrence Davis, who was that, he just went out there and you saw him. As soon as he's on the court, you're like, good or bad, I know that TD's on the court. And that's something that energy, they have to find the way to create that energy, especially when they're on the road.
Yeah, man. And it's just kind of the pace that Malik plays with. It's just everything's always 100 miles an hour. And you have Domantas Sabonis, who that's not his style. You have DeMar DeRozan, certainly not his style. Keegan Murray, definitely not his style. De'Aaron Fox is more of a let the game come to him type of guy in general. And Keon Ellis is not going to be a tone setter on offense. So when Malik's out, it's like, man, they need to. It's not even about necessarily like replacing the joy or the energy, because I don't think they have that personality, which is kind of what that comes down to. It's just getting into the offense and getting that pace going early.
Well, that and getting the 2-man game going with Sabonis.
I didn't think they did that at all.
There's Sabonis dropping down to 16 points in that game. It's very specific. He didn't get the 4 drop passes from Malik Monk to give him, an extra 6 points.
He took 9 shots. That's crazy. That's not enough.
It's not enough, but you need somebody feeding him.
No doubt.
And they need to get Fox and him in the 2-man game. Just straight up. Like, they have to try.
I don't know why they don't. Do they? I don't know. There must be a reason.
I think part of it is, we talked about this yesterday, it's a 2 left-handed guy thing. They're both left-handed. So when Monk goes down the right side of the lane and he hits Sabonis with a pocket pass, it goes to his left hand. And then he goes up with his left. Having Fox, Fox can dribble with his right. He can pass with his right, but he's not as efficient. But having him play the same way is very difficult. Fox likes to attack from the left as well. So you got to figure that out. And initially, when they first
I trust Domas to learn how to use his other hand.
I don't know.
I think he's skilled enough.
I don't know. Have you seen him try to work with his right? It's not great. I mean, he's not Marvin Bagley, but there certainly is like he does not go to the right. And if he does, he still uses the left hand if he goes to the right side.
All right. Well, something to work on.
More often than not. Yep.
We'll work on
I
it.
agree.
Let's get to number 4, then we'll say 5 and 6. What's number 4?
Yeah, it's Sabonis.
Oh, Domas.
16 points, 10 rebounds, 9
Captain
assists.
No Right.
I thought his double-double streak was going to end, but he figured out a way to save it. He got caught in that weird transition with Giannis way too many times, and he just kept picking up silly fouls. And there's nothing you could do. You could see how frustrated he was with himself, but it's almost like you have to think of Giannis in a totally different way.
Yeah.
You can't react late and go, oh, no, I've got to run out to him. Toast.
You're done.
Yeah,
And
you have to pick him up instantly.
We talked about that yesterday. If he's all right, he's going to have a dunk.
Yep.
And it's not a lack of effort. It's, hey, you don't want Domas in foul trouble. Or Keegan or De'Aaron or whoever it was going to be. Yeah. And I thought last night just too often they just did that. Where he got by somebody and there was a reach in or trying to block his shot or like, man, if he gets to certain spots on the court, I know it's not in their DNA to just go, because he's the one player in the league that this is true for. Yeah. Or just, there's not a lot you're going to do about it.
No, totally.
So I don't know. Not the end of the world, but all right, we'll get to 5 and 6, and there are two really, really interesting ones with James Ham's 6 quick thoughts. Before we step aside for a minute, I want to chat with you about Underdog Fantasy Sports. I'm going to talk to you about it, even though it's not going great for me right now. It's super easy. They're a pick'em game. You pick higher or lower on at least 2 player stats from at least 2 different teams, and then you can win up to 1,000 times your entry. But bad night for your boy last night. I've now lost 5 lineups in a row. I won 3 out of my first 4. I've now lost 5 in a row. Had Giannis lower than 51.5 points, rebounds, and assists, and I said, that's a massive number. I don't think he's going to get there. 57? Like not even close. I was like, okay, at least I'll be sweating that out. Nope, didn't sweat it out. He cruised to 57 points, rebounds, and assists. But because of the flex play option on Underdog's pick'em game, I can get 2 out of 3 and still win some money. No dice. I had Jared Allen higher than half a double-double, finished 1 rebound short. I did get Andrew Nemhard correct. I had higher than 1.5 first quarter points. He had 7 points in the first quarter for the Pacers.
Nice.
That was my first one. I was like, nice. I'm on track. Jared Allen, no. Giannis, no. It's still a lot of fun. And I'm going to keep playing even though I keep on losing. So download the Underdog app, sign up with promo code KyleM, and deposit now to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. That's promo code KyleM on the Underdog app. Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Lazy? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. All right. We'll finish up 6 quick thoughts. And I have another Domas thing I want to talk about. I had a conversation with somebody yesterday, and I want to run it by you, James. So
okay,
we'll do all of that in the final segment. Also, the handoff with Jesse Tapia of D-Lo and KC fame coming up next here on ESPN 1320, Sacramento Sports Leader. We are clear.
Crazy. The game where Sabonis had 23 and 28 rebounds, he finished with 54. Giannis just crushed him. Points, rebounds, assists. I'm going to go turn on that computer over there.
Okay. What am I doing? Nothing. I got nothing. Hi, friends. Yeah, I think Giannis exposes that issue, that flaw more than like any other player. but I don't think it was any more than normal. Like that's just a game in, game out issue.
Yeah, I mean, go back to the game on Friday where they beat the Boston Celtics, and Jason Tatum's one of the most difficult 6'9" covers in the game. The Kings held up perfectly fine in that game. They figured out ways. Giannis is just like a freak. But the fact is, like, I don't even like night in and night out. We talk about it, right? My biggest concern is what happens if Keegan is out for 2 weeks and you have
Exactly.
you have nothing.
Yeah, they don't. No, they need. I don't like the Celtics game is what I like. Sure, but it's a massive problem. It's like comb, but with an MN. What's up, Katrina? Good morning. Yeah, now the tuxedos just seem kind of fucked up.
I don't know what we're talking about.
It's Step Brothers.
Oh. I haven't seen Step Brothers in a long time.
Hello, Miss Lady.
They're both in the interview wearing their tuxedos.
Yeah. Onion and ketchup. Where was I? Somebody said something. Good question here. I have not gotten into season 2 of Squid Game. I will though. The problem is my wife hasn't seen season 1, and I watch with subtitles. I refuse to watch dubbed. So finding time by myself where I can sit and read the subtitles, I don't have a lot of that.
Okay, so I love subtitle movies and shows, but when I'm multitasking, I can't do that. So I will watch a lot of like.
Whoops. Voice guy, come back. You were muted. Voice guy, say it again. Here we go. 3, 2, and 1.
Now, back to the Insiders with James Ham and Kyle Madsen, brought to you by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320.
What were you saying? We were talking about subtitles, and I had to cut you off. So
Subtitle, yeah, like movies and shows. Like, I do love watching subtitle movies, but when I'm multitasking, when I'm writing, when I'm doing other things, watching games and watching a show at the same time, which I do quite often. Like I can't do subtitles in that situation.
Yeah, of course not.
So I do watch like a lot of weird, like Scandinavian, like cop procedurals.
Sure.
And my wife walks in the room and every time's like, oh, I can't do this because you can hear the voice difference.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So like, it doesn't so much bother me that they're moving mouths and the audio is off like slightly, but there is like hey, that's recorded in a sound studio.
Yeah, I can't do dubbed.
It
doesn't like the voice, like you said, first of all, it sounds recorded in a sound studio. The voices don't match the person ever.
Yeah.
And I'm big on subtitles. Somebody asked if we'd seen Parasite. I have seen Parasite. It's fantastic. One of those movies that everybody loved, and I was like, I'm ready to hate it. Nope, loved it. Great movie. Everybody was right. Anyways, we were doing 6 quick thoughts, and then we were rudely interrupted by people that wanted to give us money. So let's continue with 6 quick thoughts. I believe we're on number 5, and this gets into one of the interesting ones for me. I've got a fun stat for you here.
Number 5, Keegan Murray continues to improve from distance. He's now shooting almost 32% from 3. He was 3 of 8 last night. Scored 11 points, 7 rebounds. You wanted more. There is a concern that some of his 3-point shots, like, are air balls. Like they're not even remotely close.
He like hit his first one,
and then like 2 straight air balls,
like bad misses.
Yeah, like horrendous misses, and no one around him at all.
Baffling.
Almost like he's misjudged where he is on the court.
Yeah.
Very strange, very strange. I'd also say, like, I don't know if anyone's noticed, but Keegan is growing up in front of our eyes. Like, he's starting to get, like, go from, like, his teenager body to, like, the man body that he's going to have. He's just getting bigger and bigger, like, on the court. It's like, hey, look at that. But at the same time, like, the 3-point shot thing, I'm okay if he goes 3 of 8. I do wish that the misses weren't as bad.
I almost and I don't know this for sure. This is what it looks like. Is he made some tweak to hit? I don't know how much knee bend he has when he shoots, where his feet are, where his hand placement. Like he made some small adjustment to his shooting stroke and pause, and just is missing. Like he's still finding the exact range because he's missing like long.
Yeah,
which is a little weird.
It is a little strange, and great shooters, they don't miss right or left. They miss like distance wise,
right,
like
yeah.
either too far or too short.
Right.
And I still feel that way with him.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like I'm waiting for that game where he busts out for like a 7 of 11 or something, and you're just like, there he is. But either way, the last like 4 or 5 games since returning from injury, he's just been a lot more efficient. Every game is 3 or 4 threes, and he looks like he's building something. And that's what the Kings have been waiting for. They really, really need that scorer, but also that shooter.
I have a fun Keegan stat for you.
Let's hear it.
He took 8 threes last night.
Mm-hmm.
That means he's played 7 games under Doug Christie.
Okay.
He has taken 8 or more threes in 4 of them. Well, he's taken exactly 8 threes, but 8 or more threes in 4 of them.
Okay.
In the 30 games he played while Mike Brown was the head coach this year, he took 8 or more threes 3 times.
Wow.
And
that's
I don't know if that's related to De'Aaron and Malik being injured, and he just is getting more volume, and it's a pure coincidence. But I do think when you hear players talk about the more player-friendly approach, and Doug saying, hey, we're not going to harp on mistakes. We're just going to play through those. Those are going to happen. What you can't do is dwell on it. I kind of wonder if Keegan was reaching a point where he wasn't shooting great early in the year and started dwelling on those mistakes where he's like, okay, well, I'm just not going to shoot it. Whereas now the mantra is, hey, man, you're going to miss some. You got to keep hoisting.
Yeah, 4 of his last 5 games, he's got 8 threes or more. Yeah. Since returning from injury, he's only had 1 game where he didn't have 8 threes.
Yeah.
And 3 makes, 4 makes, 5 makes, 3 makes, 3 makes. Like, I'm all in. Like, if that's the player, that is the player the
3
Kings
for 8
need.
You will take every single night.
Yeah, absolutely. So he needs to clean up some of his 2-point attempts as well. I was surprised he's averaging like 5% less from the field, shooting from the field than he has in previous years. A lot of that is because of the 3-point makes, but also 2-point makes wise, he has not been as efficient as I would like.
Yeah. Want to remind everybody real quick before we move on here. 4:00 today, right after D'Lo and Casey, we got a really fun college basketball game for you. It's number 9 Kansas at number 2 Iowa State. I've been so locked into college basketball this year. I definitely knew that the Cyclones were the number 2 ranked team in the country.
Oh,
playing against the Jayhawks, 4:00 right here on ESPN 1320, your home of the 2025 NCAA men's basketball tournament. All right, let's continue. 6 quick thoughts, number 6, final one.
Keon Ellis is a 6 starter.
Boy, is he.
Yeah, it's just like really, really clear. I love that he's an instigator, and the Kings need an instigator. The stuff with Brooke Lopez, I just thought was brilliant. Like Brooke Lopez, like lost his mind. Then of course Brooke Lopez started like hitting 28-footers, and it was all over.
You can map the evolution of NBA offense through Brooke Lopez. Somebody pointed this out, and I wish I could remember who because it's very smart. But like Brooke Lopez's shot chart throughout his career it was like he was just this awesome back to the basket scorer early in his career.
20 and 8, yeah.
And now and then he added like a little short game, and then a mid-range game, and now he's a 3-point shooter. And it just follows the trend of 3-point shooting in the NBA.
That's wild.
Really interesting.
Yeah. And like he always gets angry. Actually, him and his brother both get angry when they play the Kings. I mean, Robin Lopez got thrown out at least twice that I can remember and completely lost his mind. Plus, we had the Brooke Lopez and Trey Lyles fight. Like that whole deal where like Greco-Roman wrestling.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, it got all kind of weird. But I think with Keon, he goes 5 of 8 from 3, and he had 18 points. And a lot of that came late in the game. He got the 3-point. He got the 3 free throws. He had, again, I just felt like like it's really difficult to expect him to go for 18 points every night because it is so dependent on other people. But that doesn't mean that he can't be a super, super effective player. And I feel like he is the sixth man of the sixth starter, just like I always felt like Malik Monk was more than a six man. He's a sixth starter.
Sure.
So as soon as now from here on out, as long as it's not Domas, from here on out, though, anytime that you see a player go out of and not play, you're going to see Keon Ellis as a starter.
He's another player that when you look at his 3-point attempts, he goes 5 of 8.
Mm-hmm.
That is the key when he's on the court. We know what he's going to do defensively. You know that he's gonna be a demon on that end of the court. It's just a matter of, is he going to be unplayable offensively? And if he is just putting the threes up, you have to make 5 out of 8.
Shooting 42.3% on the season.
He's shooting well enough that teams are going to have to respect it if he's doing it at volume. But if he's not shooting it, it's much harder to keep him on the court.
Here's one of the craziest.
I love the confidence that he's shooting with.
Well, I'm looking at his stats. I noticed something that is probably one of the most crazy things I've ever seen ever at the NBA level.
Okay.
Domantas Sabonis is leading the NBA at 14.1 rebounds per game.
Mm-hmm.
He's also leading the NBA in 3-point percentage at 47.2%.
Wow.
The league leader in rebounding and 3-point percentage.
I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to, on any kind of volume, maybe one time a rebounding leader went 1 for 1 from 3 or something stupid like that and shot 100%.
Yes.
But on any volume above 2 a game, I'm going to guarantee that's never happened.
I have never seen anything like that. Like to see somebody lead the league in rebounding and 3-point percentage.
Yeah. That's kind of wild.
Domantas Sabonis 3-point shootout coming your way.
Maybe. I bet
he'd get like
he would
12 up.
He would struggle to get through 3 racks of balls.
Why is he hesitating? Because he always does.
Like the guy, the rebounder under the basket, he's like, he's open, bounce pass. Like, no! No, he doesn't. It's not like he's got a quick release or anything. I do think it's really interesting with Domas specifically that teams have not adjusted to the way they defend him yet.
It's because it's a volume. It's only 2.4 attempts per game.
No, I totally understand. But when he gets out on the perimeter, you still see centers like sagging off of him and then doing these like really half-hearted closeouts. Like at some point, and that's something that is going to be part of the playoff chess match if they get into a series.
Oh, yeah.
Where I'm guessing they'll open the series going, yep, we're just going to leave him out there. And then he goes 6 for his first 8. And they go, all right, well, shoot, we have to go guard him.
Yep. That's wild.
Man, we asked for, I think I said 5 a game was my
I think
request.
We said between 3 and 5 a game. I think he still needs to bump it up more.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm okay with what he's doing.
It's hard to argue with the.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. The best version of the Kings offense is one where but you can tell when he does take them, he's taking them a little more willingly. You can tell it's not comfortable though. It's not his favorite thing to do on the basketball court.
No, totally. And even like when Doug took over, he went 2 for 3 in the first game. Then he goes 0 for 1 and 0 for 0. Like he didn't take a 3, right? But over the last 6 games, we're starting to see a lot more threes. And he had 3 twice, 3 makes twice. He's had 2 twice and 1 twice. And so he's probably averaging right at 2 makes per game, which it's crazy. And a lot of the times he's only taken 2.
Yeah.
So yeah, 18 threes. So he's shooting 66% over his last 6 games from 3.
Man,
because I can just like quick count without like them pulling up the stats. Like I can see that's
so crazy.
He's taken 18 threes over his last 6 games, and he's hit a ton. He's hit, again, 6, 10, 12. He's 12 of 18 over his last 6 games. How about you shoot the ball more?
Oh yeah, 4 for 6, 2 for 3.
Yeah.
Fractions. Man, so I want to talk about Domas real quick because I know D'Lo and KC were talking yesterday as we welcome in Jesse Tapia, who produces D'Lo and KC. They're taking you from noon to 4 every day right here on ESPN 1320. Taking you up to college basketball tonight. Kansas at Iowa State, number 9 against number 2 at 4 o'clock right here on ESPN 1320, Sacramento Sports Leader. But they were talking yesterday about how Domas is going to get snubbed from All-NBA again, and they were doing a whole thing. And I saw our buddy Matt George post on Twitter that he almost drove off the road at how mad he was at all these scenarios that they were laying out. And we welcome in Jesse Tapia for the handoff. Hello, Jesse. How's it going, man?
What's up, guys?
I'm glad you're here for this.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
So I'm glad you're here every day. Like, I'm glad you're here all the time, not just for this.
Me too.
But
Well,
yeah.
I'm curious why 11:44 on Wednesday is so special.
Because of what I want to talk about.
All right, let's hear it.
So I was kind of thinking about it, and I think that the Domas All-NBA, first of all, let me get this out of the way. I would vote for him for All-NBA if I had to vote. He's been incredible this season. And I think the more like national stuff I read and the perception of him this year and how he's playing, I believe he's going to be an All-NBA player. The other part of this is going to just be a constant battle. This is going to be something, and I know that we there's so much consternation over the fact that Domas might get snubbed from All-NBA, but like, so what? I know it sucks and it's stupid, and the way the NBA works, it can affect contractual stuff. I know that all sucks, but like, small market teams are always going to get overlooked. We know that. That is baked into the NBA discourse. To be a star player in a small market, you have to be either loud. Domas is not. You have to go to the playoffs a bunch. Domas is not. You have to win in the playoffs a bunch. You have to score upwards of 28, 30 points a game. That's not him. There are all these things working against him. And again, this is not my judgment. This is not how I would judge it. But this is the uphill battle he's fighting against. And it's like, that's just going to be there. The focus for me is like, hey, one of the ways the Kings can get him out of that is go to the playoffs and then win a round in the playoffs and then go again the next year and win 55 games and go to the playoffs the next year as a favorite in the first 2 rounds. And go to the conference finals. Like, these are the things that are going to get him out from the stupidity that is the All-NBA voting. I think getting mad at it at this point is pointless.
I get your logic, but like, it should just be like, do your job, pay attention to the game.
I agree. I totally agree. But I spent all last year getting upset about the All-Star snub stuff, or not. Well, that All-Star snub too, but the All-NBA snub. Like, but it's where we're at. It's like, what do we do? Okay, we know we're here. Everybody knows we're here. Everybody knows that Domas, it could very easily get hosed in the All-NBA conversation. We are all on the same page. And if he doesn't make it, it would be a joke. We're all there?
Yeah, but he made it last year, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
he did make it last year.
Made it last year, did not make the All-Star team, right?
Right.
No.
Not an All-Star, but All-NBA.
That's
Yeah.
what I think.
That makes sense?
Okay, so but I'm looking at it the same way we were talking earlier about when you're voting for defensive
Control the
offensive
controllables.
player,
Go ahead.
the AP guys,
Mhm.
right? So I look in the last 3 years, well, the last 2 years, he was 7th in MVP balloting and he was 8th in MVP balloting.
Mhm.
The same people are voting. And
Mhm.
so if he's going to be 7th and 8th, he's also going to be All NBA. I think both the last couple of years he's been like number 11 or number 12 in balloting. So he makes 3rd team All NBA, but I still think he's going to be All NBA. Like, I'm looking at his stats, and the one other thing I'd point out, like, if you're going to use advanced statistics to support the case that Nikola Jokic is one of the most impactful players in the history of the game, because he is, like, straight up, like, you go look at the advanced numbers, what he's done for like win shares and all that stuff, he is so far above everybody else in the league over the last 5 years. Domas is in the top 4 every single year. If you're going to use that same standard to give Jokic MVP after MVP, and I agree with it, then you also have to give that same exact, like, you got to give props to Domas as well for what he does, and they don't. Like, I mean, the fact that we don't know whether he'll make an All-Star team and he puts these numbers up every single night, it's crazy.
The All-Star All-Star's kind of a joke at this point.
The All-Star stuff is dumb.
Yeah.
I think he'll make All-NBA. I think it's a matter of if they make playoffs, does Fox get in? I think Domas will get in either way, no matter what if they miss or make. But yeah, I think if they make playoffs, it's like, all right, do they get a second one then?
Yeah, because I think we can all agree that he's one of the top 15 players in the NBA.
Yeah.
Without any question. But that's 3 guys in Sacramento.
Exactly.
It's not 3 guys that are looking at this nationally and, have the one playoff series where he did struggle. He had a couple of games where he struggled. He also had a couple of games where he was outstanding against the Golden State Warriors. But he needs more.
Right. But the perception, again, this is not my perception. I don't shoot the messenger. The perception is if we're doing radio, Atlanta's always my go-to city. If we're doing radio in Atlanta, we're talking about all NBA teams. And we look at Domantas Sabonis. We're going to look at Domantas Sabonis and what the Kings have done again, because you have to recognize nobody's doing the context of what the Kings have been and where they've been. They're going to look and go, okay, well, they've won 48 games and were the 3 seed in a down year for the West. And then they won 46 games and didn't make the playoffs. They haven't won a playoff series. That's a good stats, bad team guy.
Yeah.
Like that's how that's going to get viewed. And that sucks. It's stupid. You're right, Jesse. Like people need, especially if you're voting for this stuff, you got to do better. And I'm right there with you. But it's to me, the conversation is not, is he going to get snubbed? Oh my God, it would suck if he gets snubbed. It's like, how do we get past that? Is there a way to get past that? And to me, the number one way to get past that is like, you got to go make the playoffs this year.
Yep.
And then go start winning playoff series. Like that's what it is. That's it. You brought up Jokic in 2018-19. He played 14 playoff games the next year, 19 playoff games the next year, 10 playoff games the next year, just 5. They didn't have Jamal Murray that year. 22-23, they go to the playoffs, they win the finals. The next year, they play 12 playoff games.
Yeah.
Like that is how you get those numbers and all the advanced stats, because it's dumb, but that's the lens that everybody views everything through.
I think another reason though why like we complain about and stuff like that too is now it affects contracts. Like now it could affect whether De'Aaron Fox is with the Kings next season or not. Like that's an issue.
Yeah, we did a whole segment on that.
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna do that, you need to have like a voting committee. And you need to expand it, because there are, if you're going to have it affect contracts and you're just going to be like, okay, well, arbitrarily it's the 15 guys. Well, what if there's 20 all NBA caliber guys and these 5 dudes just get hosed here? Like,
yeah,
that can't be right. Like, and so it might alter the course of the Sacramento Kings franchise because people are too lazy to stay up and watch Kings games.
Yeah, I think Casey said it yesterday. I think Fox is top 6, and I think he's 6th in scoring in the league right now.
6th in scoring, 3rd in the Western Conference.
Okay, so yeah, and it's like he's probably not going to make All NBA. He's probably going to miss out on however many dollars or whatever.
Yeah,
we'll see. Like if the Kings continue to roll and they make a big push here and they
look good, just got to stay consistent.
They get to the 4 seed or they get to the 5 seed and they're in the playoffs. I think Fox is going to have a very good opportunity to make All NBA.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And I think Sabonis will too.
Yeah, I think Sabonis.
I think he's. I
don't want to say he's a lock because he's a Sacramento King and we know how that goes. But
no doubt,
I'm pretty. I have a good feeling he'll make it. He's made the last couple of years.
I had a good feeling last year.
Yeah.
Well, and
I think he's been better this year.
I'll keep bringing up the other.
John
point.
Hollinger.
Oh.
In the Athletic, acknowledged that Domas has been good this year.
Oh.
That's where we're at.
Progress,
that's crazy.
That's big time. In fact, you know what? Round of applause. Short one for John Hollinger.
There it is.
Golf clap.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, look, I think that at the end of the day, they have to win. And if they win, it'll take care of the only one who doesn't get that is Luka, who, made All NBA first team the year that they didn't even make the playoffs. And you're like, okay, wait a sec. Why does it not count for him? And then you look at his stats and you're like, okay.
Right.
But the other point, I'll just keep pointing. Look at how many players have already fallen out and can't make All NBA this year. Guys that made it last year. Luka, I think he missed his 18th game last night. No longer eligible for All NBA. Paul George is going to be on the fence whether he'll be eligible, and he shouldn't be making All NBA teams anyways. And statistically speaking, I hate saying this because a lot of Warriors fans are going to get pissed. Steph is not an All NBA player this
year.
Son
of a bitch!
He's just not.
No, yeah, he's a good player,
statistically speaking, and where his team is in the standings.
If Steph Curry this year,
if
Steph Curry this year is an All NBA player, it's because the voters sat down and they go, okay, who are the guys that just automatically they qualify? And let's see, Durant, Curry, Like they just have these names that they just write down, and it's like these guys are in automatically.
See, and that's why you give Steph a legacy All-Star spot. Steph, here's the All-Star game.
Yeah,
not all NBA this year, but here, come play in the All-Star.
It matters. All NBA matters too much, man.
We're gonna have that question: is LeBron All NBA this year?
LeBron's gonna be All NBA.
Well, he's gonna be, but is he an All NBA player?
Probably.
We'll find a third.
I haven't looked at his numbers. Hang on, let me. How much time we got? Oh, we got like 20 seconds. I'm gonna spend these 20 seconds looking up LeBron's numbers. Where are we at?
He's 41 years old. He's like a top 10 player.
He's 41 years. He's 40. Just turned 40. He's averaging 24, 8, and 9.
Yeah, he's good. He's good.
Yeah.
What a jerk. All right. D'Lo and KC coming up next. Can't wait for that. Jesse, thanks for hopping in. James, good show today. We will be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Sponsored by Jiffy Lube. We're the Insiders on ESPN 1320 Sacramento Sports Leader. Until tomorrow at 10, drink water.